Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the final day of Super Week here at the WGL EU. And of course, I'm Lauren Pansy Scott, joined by Oliver Maxfield and Melly all the way down to the end. We'll get to eventually. I know that's why you guys are here, let's be honest. It's all right, we pretend it's about tanks, but it's actually Melly. But anyway, how are you feeling about today's games?
Hey, it's been a long week so far. It's been pretty awesome as well. I've really enjoyed my Super Week. I hope we actually end it, where we begun. We had some great matches on Monday, and I hope Thursday's going to be the same.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? We've got actually quite tough games coming out today, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But just to refresh your memory, let's look back at yesterday's games. That pretty graphic will always keep you happy. The 5-2s were in the right place.
I love it. I love the 5-2 thing. It's great. Yeah, Supreme Kazna, I thought a game would be a little bit closer, but it turned out that Supreme were just better prepared and walked apart with Kazna crew. No intents and purposes. So Penta, No Mercy, I don't know. Penta could have done a little bit better, but they eventually managed to say No Mercy, and Tornado Rocks. A few close games, but Tornado were too strong.
Yeah, Tornado Rocks were very, very strong in the end. And it was the day of Ruinberg yesterday, so I can imagine you guys will love looking back at this clip. And we can count how many times we see Ruinberg together. All of the 3-1s came up. There was one 2-2, which was that Tornado Rocks game at the end. But still, in case just seeing those graphics and seeing those matches isn't enough, we have a wonderful little highlight clip ready for you. Welcome to the WGL EU. We are into day 3 of Super Week. Guys and girls, this is a game you've all been waiting for.
The MT25, we don't want to get in that initial engagement, but Shani...
Oh, Shani's been caught out here. I don't think he expected Ruster to be in this position. FC Dynamo's joined him, but it might be too little too late. No, Shanish just about stays alive. Suprema just holding strong at the moment, and literally shell by shell, they're just wearing down Kazna.
Yeah, they are. And Yizny getting really chunked down at the moment, but you'll see Ruster's actually come off reload. Griffin does take down Eurofish, and is going back to back.
Turret's turn, they know where he is now. 5 seconds left, Schnitzel. 3 seconds, he's got to make the shot right about now, and it doesn't happen. It's going to be Team Supreme picking up the victory. And the next one, of course, is Penta up against No Mercy. He's been absolutely caught out and has nowhere to run. This is brilliant play already. Numocho's going to lap that one up easy. And Matt PL is now on a limb. That whole northern side has been completely swept aside, and Penta just getting, what a perfect advantage. Oh, this is fantastic. More fire coming in from those IS-3s as well. This positioning is beautiful. Numocho and Hacky, joined by Fluky, can easily fold into this, but they don't need to. Raging Potato, he's not missing those shots. He's going to land it. Now Lucky Blast, Shock, and Nevi in the cap. Still trying to sit this one out, but sitting there like sitting ducks. You see those IS-3, shell after shell coming in. And he will show the 5100, just going to seal the deal. Lucky Blast is the next target, and this focus fire is absolutely brutal. The IS-3s, joined by that T-32, going to line up here. Raging Potato is going to play the blocking game, just put himself in the middle, say, guys, just do the damage, help me out here. Nevi, Yamto pushing forward. Yamto is absolutely screwed in this one. Raging Potato is going to take him down in one swift move. Nevi works around the back, but this is much better. No Mercy not giving up just yet. Individual battles breaking out here for a message challenging down Nevi. Raging Potato turns turret towards him, but Matt takes him out of the equation, and this is still very close. Penta, they've gone and done it. They close it down in the end. Now Tornado Rocks against Utopia.
As McMoney does receive a couple more, and he's in trouble.
Oh, this is much better. The Annihilator and Zik did put some attention there. The 5100 in the background as well is laying down shots towards him. He does have a shot to make, and no one's actually hitting these. There we go. Finally, Positive's the one to take him away from this. But here we go. Zik's going to find McMoney, take him down. Brilliant work from Zik. Consistency seems to be his biggest favor right now, as Bishu, Muka, and Hunter have to keep this one held together. Hunter, one of the superstars, just gets pinned down by the Annihilator. That's another comfortable pickup for Tornado Rocks, leaving only 3 alive. And this crossfire, these shots coming out from the Tornado Rocks boys is absolutely beautiful. And they look so confident, and why not? Zik, Forsic, the Armageddon, Positive, all lining them up here. Sure, oh, look at this in the north, though. Here comes the cavalry. The 5100s are going to get into the battle here. Positive trying to hold back too. This could get messy. Zik and Positive swiftly deal with McMoney and Shock, so maybe they can turn their turret towards the others. Wilt goes down in the maelstrom, but Muka still keeping things in check here with Bishu taking down Forsic. But overall, look at that HP. It's down to nothing. Utopia on the verge of slipping away here.
Took him down to a one-shot, so he's really not being particularly useful right now. But Bishu, big mistake from him, does secure the Armageddon a kill, and maybe Tornado Rocks this match.
That could be such an error. If they've just let that slip of one player's individual error. Look at Negative slowly but surely creeping forward. The Armageddon with Papa keeping him busy. Oh, a Negative finds Shock. This is going from bad to worse for Utopia. They're down to 3 players against the 4. They had it all going for them, and one error gifts it over towards Tornado Rocks. So guys, hit that follow button down below. You'll be notified whenever we go live, and it'll be at the same time tomorrow because it's Super Week and we like tanks. So guys, hopefully see you then. We like tanks. That's what
nice
I chose.
Outro, nice outro.
Nailed it.
10 out of 10.
Nailed it. It was quite the long day. It was quite some exciting games. You could probably tell that by the end, but still, that of course did mean the rankings changed around, and you can see it in place there. Now, it just seems as though those top 2 are starting to run away.
Exactly. I mean, well, Team Supreme was running away from basically the beginning of the season. They've been unbeaten so far. And Tornado Rocks, they had a good day yesterday as well. They picked up the necessary 3 points to basically put them ahead of Virtus.pro and Kazakrew quite substantially, which does suggest that maybe they will be going automatically to those season finals. We'll see the top 2 going there. I think for me, today, Synergy has an opportunity to get higher in the rankings for, you know, that better seeding purposes in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they could gain a lot. 3 points per win. If they get a clean victory here, you can see how far up they can go. That's several positions they could gain from that. So
they could go third, yeah, it's great.
That's a massive change for those guys. So they really need to focus up today. So that, of course, leads to today's games. We've been saying all along, these are quite tough games for at least half of the teams here. There's some disparity in it, but at the end of the day, everyone's got their own focus here. Synergy need the clean 3. WUSA desperate for some more victories. Strong Siema having some outstanding performances, and Virtus.pro being hit and miss sometimes. Yeah, they've been up and down this season. I think they played well this week, though, so I hope they can pick up another victory. I think they deserve it. But Strong Siema as well, really surprising results altogether. ASAP Ding, though, I mean, ASAP is one of those teams that just seems to go up and down all the time. And, you know, we were kind of theorizing why they had that 5-0 defeat against No Mercy. And I think one of the reasons was Insane. Their team captain wasn't in the game because of latency issues. Now I think he's back today. I think they'll have a good game against Ding. Well, that's going to be a factor. Keep that in mind, because your voices and your votes, well, they make a difference for you guys at home. You can get some points to the melee, and hopefully they have every single factor in place. And now they know that maybe Insane's playing, maybe isn't. They can see that, they can vote accordingly, because they can win a lot of stuff off the back, right? Well, absolutely. I mean, the first 3 correct, the fastest correct predictions will receive bonus codes, and those bonus codes are containing 500 gold and 8 days of premium. And the vote has just been set live. It's like online for 2 minutes roughly, and the first 10 votes came in and it was 100% Synergy. This will even out. This will change, of course, because the vote just went online. So people head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WGLEU, and get involved. Vote for your favorite team and then predict the exact scoreline for this matchup to get your chance of winning a bonus code. If you don't have Facebook and say, well, I want to participate anyways, head over to Twitter and use the hashtag WGLEU to get involved. Also, share your opinion, or if you have questions, maybe I will tweet you back, or I'll let Ollie and Lauren answer those, because they are experts. I'm just sitting here and trying to do social media. I'm not very good at this, but I'll do my best. Oh, don't sell yourself short, But Melly. I learned something. Okay. Just post Ollie's face on our Facebook page, and it goes through the roof. Yeah. He broke my statistics. Melly got a picture from the grand finals on top of a tank. Yeah. It was good. Good reach. It was nice. Yeah. But yours got with a massive check. Doubled it. Doubled it. So, and a lot of new female followers I heard. And the problem is, I don't even know why, and I'm supposed to be a social media person here. Pretty much. Maybe Facebook showed some pity. He was like, oh my god, maybe he's raising money for some condition or so. He does look pretty adorable, to be fair. You look so young in that picture. I was so young. I think it was 2011. Yeah, you were 16. It's the struggles of esports have now worn me down into this. We're all withered and old. We turned into prunes, basically. But so what happens when you lock us in this basement the whole day? I don't lock you in there. It's merely a very tough door. Anyway, it's Synergy up against WUSA first and foremostly. We know map 1 is going to be Steps. Let's talk about that matchup a little bit here, because your thoughts on them on Steps. Who's got the advantage? Well, I would definitely say it would be Synergy, because they did that 4-0 against Ding this week. I mean, they completely crushed them on attack and defense, whilst WUSA, they had a really big struggle against Virtus.pro on stats where they went 3 out of 4. I mean, that's not a particularly good scoreline, even against Virtus.pro, who are very good on steps. You know, they beat Kazakrew on it quite convincingly. So for me,
I would say Synergy has this map at least.
Well, we've heard his thoughts. Let's actually hear from the captain of WUSA and see what he has to say about the matter.
About Synergy, I'm really impressed how Stalker managed to prepare his team that well for the season and show that Synergy is back and are not willing to stay in the shadow of Virtus Pro or Roxonet. We were training a lot with teams from the Russian Golden Series to be ready for Stalker's tactics and react properly to them. Since 2014's Grand Finals, where we lost to Synergy, we basically made two big changes. Firstly, we became an international team instead of a German one only to recruit top players like Neoposoni. And secondly, we became a lot more serious about esports and started to train a lot more.
Well, let's hope those changes actually do pay off. Clearly, they are trying to keep this one in mind. They don't want this to be a walk in the park. But as you said, this on paper should be Synergy's game. What can WUSA do to maybe turn the tide there?
Well, Stefan mentioned Neoposoni, who basically hasn't played this season, which is kind of ironic. But, you know, I think they really have to get their heads in the game. I've been really disappointed what WUSA's brought to the table this season. They've been really lackluster. I think they really just have to play the WUSA of old. They have to be really confident.
Well, we're going to keep our eyes on that. And guys at home, to introduce you to the map, it's Steps.
Steps, the most open map of the league. The attacking team appears near the rocks at the bottom of the map, and the defending team starts at the top. Bases are located near the railway and on the green. The best way to control them is to use the lowland near the second base. The attacking team usually unfolds the attacks from the rocks and the railway, but sometimes they can attack through the green. Teams often drag vehicles from flank to flank, so both teams usually pick light setups, but sometimes use tanks with a strong turret, and even SPGs.
And welcome into Steps. It will be Synergy on the attack first, WUSA defending. And what do we see so far? Any interesting lineups or positioning coming out?
I know, pretty normal. Beautiful stuff from Synergy.
What?
That is preparation down to an absolute T. Synergy knew what Siege would be doing from that previous match against Virtus Pro, and they countered it with a quickest kill of the season, I have to say, onto Siege.
That was just sexy tanks. I'm not going to lie to you guys at home. That was just beautiful.
Correct.
Wow. That was absolutely perfect. Anyway, WUSA now operating at a huge disadvantage. Now, what does that mean, actually, in the grand scheme of things? Now, with Siege gone, what has that now left WUSA with a deficit of?
Well, the 5916 is obviously an important tank. I mean, luckily enough, WUSA's actually on the defensive side, so it doesn't make a huge difference. But, you know, it's a very nice decapper and spotter. It's like that tank you send in just to get the spot and to get the suicide, but then get the decap. Now, WUSA doesn't have that. They basically have to try a new tactic, and it looks like they're rotating from the south, trying to go for some sort of engagement, and maybe even catch Synergy by surprise. I think, you know, WUSA's been a little bit slow, a little bit static this season, and actually this might work in their favor.
I don't see Stalker either in this lineup. Am I being blind here?
He got downvoted as team captain. John Corleone was promoted to team captain.
Wow.
So Stalker's no longer in the lineup for now.
Well, already some big changes clearly paying off there, but Liliet gets a little caught out. Oh, make it very down to, oh, another shot comes in. That's 3 back-to-back. Just about scurried in toward cover, but they at least know where the defending side now is. Great
little sniping shots there from WUSA. Really good stuff. And Iliot is now down to half HP. They can actually just go and overmatch onto him. They also have to be careful, though. They get the middle road. They get some cross shots on, so they don't just get focused out.
Well, Lilia is in trouble. He's got 4 tanks moving towards him. You said he could be overmatched drastically, and he is. Good fire, though, back towards Stefan, but Liliet is just a sitting duck by this point. If he can get another shell out, that's not bad, but he's not going to survive much longer. Schwenk will come through, get the job done. And Synergy and WUSA keeping this very close.
Yeah, this is going back and forwards constantly. You can see, actually, Synergy are down at this point in time. There's also an engagement in the middle, which I think Synergy is actually losing. They have to get their heads back into this game. They have to choose a target and go for it.
Yeah, let's see what they focus on. Already Vertillion, wrong team, does find one. But now, a little bit of a backward and forth. Synergy do have the HP advantage at the moment, but this is a very, very aggressive game. Hilof does get caught out. Roofy going low. Zamika could go in towards this one, but actually fancies chances towards Vertilion. Words are hard. Vertilion, as Milov will find Roofy and Zamika towards Vertilion. That guy's name is going to kill me today.
By the way, it's Vitiline apparently, but
Vitiline.
Yeah, I got told this, but I think it's a Vitline, so I'm just going to get it. So it's Wetline, let's be honest here. But still, WUSA are not winning this one. They're actually down at this point. I mean, I just took my head off the game for 2 seconds, and you can see Synergy are back, thanks to that good engagement in the middle. But Nidin does peek and gets punished.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy there from Nidin. Going to be caught out. Doesn't get much back for it either. Does. Going to find Corleone. Nidin back. Now looking at this. 3 tanks remaining for WUSA. They can do well here. Bear in mind, Carvy's just about staying alive at this point, but Nidin and Total Best are very low. Spoink does peak 1. Total Best finds Carvey. Milov finds Stefan. It's just down to Spoink now. 1v4. He's outnumbered, outgunned. And it looks like Synergy have done just enough to make it through this game, as Milov will close it down. And Synergy pick up map 1, or at least round 1, with some great plays coming out through that. We have to talk about the initial play they made. Yeah,
the initial play was really a fantastic one. They saw where Siege went in previous games, and they just sniped that one bush out, one location out. So yeah, they took down the 59-16 basically immediately, the tier 6. And then they went forwards. I think WUSA got back into the game nicely. They took down Nidin there in the T54. They also found Winnie the Pooh, one of the better players for Synergy, in that middle road. But then you could see Synergy starting to make their way back in the game. They took care of those 2 middle tanks, so it made a 2-for-2 exchange, a 3-for-2, and you consider Siege was also down. And then Synergy just held their ground. They had the better positions, and they eventually started winning the war of attrition. Yeah,
it did get quite close though, and I apologise, Vitlion is what I'm going to call you now that I butchered your name throughout the entirety of that game, but deal with it.
You started something very rude there. You know that Twitch chat is calling him Soggy Lion.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's Mitch actually called him.
Was it?
Nah, is it? Yeah, maybe.
Mitch is a cruel man though. That's why we had to put him to bed for a little while. He's getting too, angsty, and he gets all leery. Got to give him some time off, otherwise can't deal with him. But
can't deal with the banter. That's the problem.
No, his banter is very poor. His banter is poor. Yeah. But Melly, how is the votes going? Twitch chat. How is everything out there in the world outside of the studio?
Hopefully good. I mean, the sun is shining Cologne, so I hope. Well, I've heard in Britain it's raining. What a surprise!
How did you hear that? As a weird bit of information.
On Twitter, someone wrote me.
Okay.
Located in England.
You got like
it's cloudy in London right now.
No, maybe I could actually Google what the weather in London is, but
it's cloudy. 21 degrees, cloudy, 8% humidity.
You just stereotyped our weather. How dare you?
No, I mean, I knew that person is from Britain, but I don't know from where. But I mean, it's also close together, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, well, the top of Scotland is pretty far away.
Yeah, that's true.
412 miles.
But well, the vote, 60% for Synergy. I must say, I would have expected something a bit higher in this case.
I agree, but then I don't think Synergy win the hearts and minds of people. You know what I mean?
That might be true,
You get your Kasnas, you get your teams that have a big community base, and then the Synergy is just like, do we like them yet?
Applewow's face.
See, exactly. How could you hate Applewell? But Synergy, I'm not so sure. Maybe the stalker effect is everlasting.
Yeah.
No, that could be true. So tell us why Synergy is only in 60% when the result on paper should be clear. I'm putting "should" in quotation marks because the past days, Toto's different. Everything can happen. I just want to remind you guys over and over again, so get your votes in on Facebook.
There you go. Get involved. We love hearing from you here. And of course, let's start discussing round 2 because we saw quite a definitive start to the previous one. You reckon they're going to try that one again?
Well, they are going to try it again because they're setting up with the T54s, but it would be crazy if Siege made the same mistake twice. I mean, it would be retarded if he did do that. But I think he's just going to play a different tactic, maybe play around the right side. I think WUSA, their really aggressive stance was actually not bad, but I just don't think they quite have that panache to be aggressive and successful with it. So they might just go back to what they know and what's really not been successful this season. I'm of course afraid of that one. Now, at the end of the day, WUSA need this win if they want to stay out the automatic relegation spots. They're sitting basically at the bottom of the table apart from No Mercy and ASAP. They're in 10th place at this current time. So they've got a lot of work to do, and they might as well start here.
Yeah, it's a good building block, but it looks like Synergy do have a plan. But as you said, lineup changes coming in could make some form of difference. Couple of shots coming through from that northeastern side as Synergy are building themselves toward that northern cap, see if they want to get it going. This seems a far more standard way of playing out steps to what we've seen prior, at least in the previous round. But WUSA, they are aggressive. They like to play quite aggressive occasionally. They'll flip that switch or switch that flip. Go for that one. But Zamika's getting into position. And what do we make of the 12T on this map? Does it have a very specific role, or is it just something maybe Zamika likes to play?
It's very good at going in the cap, actually. I mean, that's the ultimate reason. It's got good camo value, it's got decent burst damage, it's very small, it's very hard to deal with, so you can see Synergy immediately just trying to get control of that cap and start moving into it. I mean, they took care of Siege straight away last time. Now they haven't been able to do that despite a lot of blind shots. They still have to start thinking about, okay, so we need to get that 12T in the cap, we need to set up around there. Oh, Zamika does receive a shell from Roofy. And then they can start, having the T-54 down south, worrying about the rotate from WUSA. But at the moment, you just see Synergy setting up for a normal northern cap.
There's nothing bad about that either. It's not bad to just go back to basics, play out the calmer game here. Nidin, Zamika, Mielov. Over the other side of the railroad. Not actually doing much damage back towards WUSA just yet. Siege did take a little bit early on, as did Zamika, so kind of evening out the playing field. But of course, Zamika going to be quite imperative to what they might try and achieve here if they do put him towards that cap. Definitely need him actually alive in this one. Winnie the Pooh having a little bit of trouble there. But Synergy look tentative, but we know they can play this well. This is something they've done several times before.
For sure. Now I'm really curious what Synergy's doing, because they're playing it pretty slowly. And, it is a game about time if that cap is the one being utilized. But Synergy have a lot of T-54s, they've got 6 of them, so there's always a brute force approach which they can go for in terms of the damage. But again, they haven't gone into the cap yet, so they're clearly waiting for something. Clearly waiting for some sort of damage. I'm really not sure what they're waiting for at this point in time. Now the cap has started, a little bit late, and Total Best is going to be joining him in there. Actually, he's just going forwards, but WUSA doesn't have really any forward spotters apart from the classic T-32, so Zamika's just going to be going dancing backwards and forwards, making sure he can stay alive for as long as possible. And I guess because Synergy started the cap late, it does mean that WUSA's under a little bit more pressure. When do they go forwards? Do they go forwards? And if they do, it will be a last-ditch attempt for them.
Yeah, and we are seeing Zamika sitting there pretty comfortably so far.
It's not very well.
A flick of damage towards Roofy, but not much. And to be fair, no one's really connecting on each other. The amount of blind shots that are being made, considering Roofy's made 18, merely hit 1 so far. Of course, T-32 not known for being the highest damaging dealer in this game, but it does have its purpose here. But the cap is still going on. I can imagine around maybe 30 seconds is going to have to force the hand of WUSA to make a move.
The classic move would be, well, it looks like they're setting up for at least a northern side push, and that's actually the 59-16 going down.
Here we go.
So the A5, A6 area push is going to happen. Of course, Mielov is there to deal with it, but he'll go down very quickly if Synergy don't react.
Let's see what Synergy do here. They have pulled WUSA out of position, but can they now deal with what they've done? Still Mojo heading straight across the track. Zamika taking a bit of a faceful, but still alive, so can serve his purpose. But still Mojo is on the receiving end here. He's got the backup of Spoink and Durs. Mielov does peer out from this very northern side of the rocks, gets one in, but John Corleone just going to move forward. Still Mojo still alive somehow. Synergy taking a lot of damage now, but finally they do take down Still Mojo. Their initial bit of focus, but nearly not landing that shot towards Durs. Into John Corleone is going to get a lot more. There, here comes Iliad. Liliot straight over the tracks, trying to get into this one. Spoink staying alive, and the focus fire here is a little lacking. They're staying alive for a hell of a long time. And then they get the job done. Total Best and Winnie the Pooh moving in towards the eastern front as Milf will find Spoink, and Durs now severely outnumbered and, well, outgunned. Corleone's going to find him very comfortably, but Winnie the Pooh's in trouble here, as is Total Best.
Yeah, but Total Best will be able to take down Roofy within his next shot as soon as he's got the reload. Unless he bounces it, which I was just about to say, Total Best screws up, and that does actually, show the weakness of Synergy, their main weakness, their player skill in these kind of semi to high pressure situations. It just doesn't serve them well, and now WUSA can actually run away with 2 high HP tanks.
Yeah, and they've got the higher HP. They've still got 3 tanks alive against the 4 of Synergy. This is dangerous times. 22 seconds on the cap. Stefan finds Corleone. That's the captain down. Mielov going to look for Stefan here. Roofy positioned well. Lion gonna just head over the ridge, doesn't get his shot off though. Milov trying to hold this one on, but this is a disaster for Synergy. It's gone from bad to worse with Milov being outnumbered here, being overrun and being picked to pieces. He does at least find Roofy, but now Lion and Stefan have free reign over Iliad and Zamika.
Should be a clear win for WUSA. They're pretty near the cap. They'll be able to find it very quickly. And they still have 12 seconds left, which is just plenty of time. It looks like Lion, of course, playing that 2-5-1 is in a sniping role. As the cap does go down, Lion secures it.
Yeah, that is beautifully done. And Zamika knows there is nothing to be done at this point, as Lion will find the second and last and get a round on the board. Now, talk me through that game, because it looked like Synergy had the advantage. They started the cap a little late, but then it started to work in their favor, but it really slowed down at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. WUSA actually pushed over the train tracks. They went in for an engage. Pretty sloppy work from them. They weren't focused firing that great. A bit of a miscommunication between Spoink and Stillmoja didn't help out. But you could see Synergy just pushing straight across, dealing with those tanks, receiving a little bit too much damage, I have to say. But the weird thing was they sent 2 of their tanks, the 2 T-54s, over into the trench side to try and deal with the T-32. And it just didn't work out for them. They received too much damage. Total Best also bouncing that last shell doesn't help. And yeah, I mean, just bad coordination from Synergy in a lot of respects. You can see their head in HP right now. It's not a lot, but considering the T-32s in play, it's enough. So really, Synergy have to do it pretty specially to be able to lose this one out. And it's just down to these 2 T-54s being segregated, being out DPN'd, not being able to deal with the T-32 with more HP. And of course, the 2-5-1 just being a great damage-dealing tank. Just, 2 separate forces from Synergy working against each other.
So what was the theory crafting behind putting those T-54s towards the T-32? Is there something you can think of? Or was it just they expected to actually, land the shots and take him down?
I think Mielov also went into the battle a little bit late. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think Synergy got a little bit overconfident in that game, thought they could actually win it out. But yeah, looking at the damage, I mean, Mielov did 2.4k, so you can't really say anything about that. The next next player down even did 1.4k, so, 1,000 damage less.
Yep.
It kind of shows the disparity between the players in Synergy. Looking at WUSA, Stefan, 2.1k, great to see him up on top of that leaderboard again. Lion, 2.1k, and that's 251, and Roofy keeping his team in there with a T-32, doing 1.5k.
Really nicely done overall, and that's exactly what they need for WUSA, and they need to be able to keep this up, though. That's the thing. I'm not sure how much they can do, but they will be switching sides now, so that's going to be the switch coming in. It'll be, I believe, WUSA on the attack and Synergy on the defense. And what do you make coming into this? What are they going to change? What are they going to do? Is there something that could be ingenious coming out, or is this just going to be rinse and repeat?
Well, I predict WUSA, goes for something very heavy.
Yeah.
The IS-6s maybe. Maybe the T-32s, the IS-3s. I think, looking at their previous performances on steps, they want to be changing up and going for something, which we haven't seen before.
Oh, so he's predicting something we've never seen before. All right, I'm excited. I wonder if Ollie is correct in this. You guys at home, keep your eyes peeled. Let's see what we spot once we get into game. Of course, the team's just taking a second to make sure everything is tactically correct, and they know what they're doing. We're going to find out very, very soon if Ollie is right in this one. But you guys at home were predicting this going Synergy's way. We'll find out if that sticks true to... Oh my God, Ollie, how did you do that?
Look, that is the next level analysis, guys. You can't even... You can't write that kind of stuff.
WGLNA has nothing on you, let's be honest. Who's Nagatron?
You can't do that kind of stuff. It just doesn't happen anymore.
No, that's beautiful. But, okay, talk me through this. This is a little unique and a little different. So tell me about it, Ollie.
Well, I mean, the IS-6, it's just a bouncer. It's insane. It's got so much spaced armor, so much armor on the front, that basically nothing can penetrate it. I absolutely hate playing against the IS-6. I hate playing against the any of those kind of Russian tanks. I mean, they're just really annoying. And the Carnivore as well, we first saw it picked up by Team Supreme on Ruhenberg. Also a bouncer, does a lot of damage if it has the 17-pounder, for instance. So, yeah, a lot of damage, a lot of bounces.
So where are they going to put it as well?
I mean, of course... Of course they're going to put it towards that right side. It's the only real place you can get to quickly enough and not be surrounded from every angle. So you can see Synergy have boosted the T-54 up. They got Zamika in the normal C9, C0 position just to be able to provide some good cross shots, good crossfire onto any tank that does want to cap.
I don't want to watch anyone but WUSA right now. I get Zamika's in a lovely place, thank you, observers, but I just want to see what the hell WUSA gets up to here, because this is something we don't see. Well, there's the first shot at least landing towards Spoink. Second. Third. Okay, they're actually doing some fair damage to the IS-6s here, and they're not taking much back. Synergy know what's up here. They're doing okay.
Yeah, they're doing all right, but, you know, that's the most damage they'll be able to take in that one instance, because, you know, Synergy are just there and ready for a little bit of damage onto those ones. But still, Mojo also getting into the cap, so it's going to be hard now for Synergy to dig these 3 heavy tanks out.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Can they actually take them down? Now into position, now focused on the task at hand. Can they do the job? Total Best takes down Spoink very low. He's down to a one-shot, 28 HP here. But still Mojo, first to fall, and second is Spoink, back-to-back coming in for Synergy. They're dealing with this very well. WUSA maybe a bit of a little bit short-sighted tactic here, maybe not seeing the bigger picture because it's not working out.
Yeah, they're hitting the turret actually of the IS-6. It's basically the weakest part in the tank. It's like an IS turret, so it really has no HP, no armor even. It doesn't bounce anything, and Synergy are just slicing straight through it. Of course, the superstructure is very hard to deal with, but everything else is pretty soft.
Well, they knew exactly what they had to do for this one, and they've done it perfectly. Synergy seeing a task at hand and going, all right, guys, we'll take the challenge, and we're going to spank it. Now down to 3 players, WUSA falling like flies, and the ingenious tactics just didn't work out. Nidden's going to find Stefan, and now Wet Lion, last man standing. Yeah,
he's not going to be able to do anything. He might as well be Cecile at this point. He's just going to get absolutely wrecked down. He's actually on fire at this point in time. So, yeah, it'll be Wet Lion to fall. Last man remaining for WUSA, and, well, 2-1 now in towards Synergy's favor. So, yeah, I mean, pretty one-sided result.
Yeah, it was worthwhile trying, though, I guess.
Yeah.
Come up with something new, throw it out there, see if it sticks. It didn't. Yeah. Now, you could see the theory crafting behind it, though. There was logic to it. It just didn't really work out.
No, it didn't. I mean, those IS-6s just received a lot of damage going through. But then when they're in the cap, I thought they were able to sustain a little bit more, be able to live a little bit more. But, you know, Synergy were just penetrating that turret over and over again. You saw Total Best have some great side shots onto the turrets. And, yeah, you know it's going to be bad luck when they received so much damage going into the cap already. Again, if you hit the superstructure of the IS-6, it's one thing, but if you hit the turret, it's literally a totally different beast.
Yeah, and I think the WUSA kind of being reminded of that factor, that maybe one-dimensional tactics don't really work off these cheesy plays, not going to really fool the likes of Synergy here, as you can see. One by one, those IS-6s did fall. So let's kind of reaccount for WUSA. Let's say if they play the standard, do they still have a chance of getting a 2-2 here, or is it...
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I guess you have that theory where you can try one weird thing on the attacking side if you don't really have a confident strategy that goes outside the normal strategies. But I think you'll see now WUSA go back to what they know. You know, the normal tanks, the normal, you know, maybe artillery comes in. That's the only kind of strange pick I can see them picking on this map. It's pretty common these days. But, you know, Synergy, I mean, they've been solid this season. 80% win ratio with 15 rounds. This is their most played map apart from Himmelsdorf by run round, and for Steps 37% from WUSA. You can kind of see the differences between these two teams and why Synergy is doing so well.
Yeah, Synergy, as you said though, against the very higher echelons and sometimes individual players, for example, they do struggle. They don't have the highest skilled team individually, let's say, but they certainly have the ability to achieve that in other means. It's something that is quite unfamiliar being kind of said about someone like Synergy, who used to have, you know, Applewau in the lineup and some of these really great individual players, but they're seemingly doing okay here. Do you think they could maybe eventually achieve the same sort of skill level we've seen of the previous lineups?
I'm not sure. I think they need a lot of work. I mean, of course, these guys have been playing for quite a long time. They were playing in Silver Series. Now they've been playing almost a whole season of Gold Series. They should be able to, you know, really improve their individual skill. And I do think it is improved, but I think it's got some work. And they need to do some work on it, actually, to get it up to the level of, you know, Applewau, Shanish, Elian, Yizny, Vetso, all these top players, you know, Nir Pizzorni, who was playing for WUSA, which he doesn't seem to be doing for this whole season. It's really weird because he is like...
He is fantastic.
He was one of the main reasons... He was the main reason last season WUSA did so well. They got rid of FKK Schnitzel. They didn't get rid of FKK Schnitzel. They got rid of a couple of the deadweights and thing in there. And then they put Nir Pizzorni in, and it was like a whole different team. He really did carry their team into the finals.
Well, they might be asking the question, where is he now, when they go down, if they do, to a 3-1 scoreline. It would be far from ideal. However, they do have a shot to even this one up. They can take it to 2-2. They did pick up a round just previously on their first half of things. Let's see if they can do the same going into their second. Of course, up against them is Synergy, looking to maybe get a couple more places up on that rankings and maybe even challenge the very top teams. Anyway, we are into this one, and WUSA once again on the attack, Synergy on the defense, and this looks far more standard.
Yeah, normal lineup from WUSA. They often pick the artillery. It's completely and utterly standard for them, and Rufy has been one of the top artillery players this season. One of the only artillery players, maybe apart from Kusok, for instance. So Synergy also picking a pretty standard lineup. I think they're just going to sit here in the trench. They haven't got a T-32, so maybe they can, flex around the map a little bit. And with a T-37, it doesn't look like they're going to play a static game, actually, because if you have a T-37, it doesn't have a particularly good camo value because it's a tall tank, it's a large tank. So it does suggest to you, okay, they might be trying to go for a counter-rotate, try and get close and close and dirty with WUSA, basically. They really do like those brawls, and it does say something, if Synergy can hit any shots, they probably can have the best chances if they're close.
We're going to find out, as you said, it's a telling sign if they don't pick up the completely standardized lineup. We'll have to wait. Carvey looking over, Winnie the Pooh taking his time. Actually, the M44, Rufy's going to a bit of a unique position. Haven't seen this one done in a little while. Fairly close. Will he be able to land shots maybe toward that northeastern side, or what's the point of this position? I'm not sure if we see it as often as others. Well,
he's just got, he's pretty close, he's safe, he's got his team around him, and he's got front shots onto Synergy. But again, Synergy doesn't have a T-32, they aren't really playing a static kind of role, and unless WUSA actually starts this cap, then really don't have to do anything. And now WUSA started it, I think you'll see the move from Synergy. I think you'll see the train play from Synergy here. You can see immediately they are going down south. They are probably just going to counter-rotate all the way around. Have the T-37 fairly up north just to keep A6, A7 safe. And then, really go for those close quarter engagements. Also, the T-54 is probably going to sit up for a while at least, just in front of where John Corleone is, and maybe make a few blind shots. Or not.
Or not. We'll wait and see what they have in store here, Synergy. They're on the move. We already see WUSA starting to expect maybe a play towards the south. 3 of those T-54s starting to line up there, Durs included. And Siege not too far away, of course. So 60 seconds, of course, the cap is not the initial focus. Really, it's more to draw the opponents in, make them make a move. Otherwise, they can sit there by those lovely covered ridges and wait it out. But we are seeing those 3 tanks starting to split up. We have the T-37 and the T-54 heading up that more central line. And I think they're actually all going to be joining around now, yes. So all tanks heading up that central area. Zamika leading the charge. Milov just behind. They're going to be going into the wall of WUSA. Synergy, this could be a disaster if they don't time this one right. Here we go, the shots are coming out. Zamika, Milov still at the forefront here. 34 seconds left. Winnie the Pooh towards the side. Carvey there as well. Milov starting to eye up Carvey. Look where he is, see if he can find him. But Zamika takes a lot of damage and actually goes down so early on. Spoink takes him out of the game almost instantly. Total Best takes a pounding as well, as WUSA really holding the advantage here.
You can see when WUSA just chills out a little bit, they actually do well. Synergy are in the positions they wanted to, but Carvey wants blood.
And look at this though, Durs and Stefan have a bit of a shooting range down towards Milov and Lilia, but Carvey wanted blood, he gets it, that's Total Best down and out, and already a massive advantage for WUSA here, keeping so many of their tanks alive.
Yeah, they've got 2 tank advantage right now. Winnie the Pooh does bring that back with the kill onto Rufy, but it's not a big deal, it's only artillery. And close quarters kind of engagements, definitely, it's not easy for Rufy to do any damage from this point out onwards. But yeah, I think WUSA are doing well. They have thrown it in this position before. Let's see if they can hold on to it.
Well, here we go. WUSA, this is your challenge. This is your chance to bring it 2-2 overall, and they need that so badly. But there's still a lot of tanks in the game here for WUSA. They still have more HP, but those shots coming in going to change that, turn that tide. Siege takes a lot there. One back from Stefan towards Winnie the Pooh. They're starting to break in. WUSA looking like they want to get to be the aggressor in this situation. But Lion, though, just charging straight in. Stefan and Durs a little late to the party, but they make it work. Milov goes down, and now Corleone surrounded by 3 tanks, but Winnie the Pooh's trying to bail him out of the situation, but they're going down low. They're still being picked up. It's a 3v3. Iliot, somehow alive, finally gets destroyed by Durs, and Nidin and Winnie the Pooh have a chance here, but it's going to be a tough one, 2v3.
A very hard job for these two right now, and that doesn't help. Nidin misses his first shot. I think WUSA just need to get themselves together and really take these two remaining tanks down, as Nidin does bring Siege down to a one-shot in this situation.
I get a little nervous when I see Siege going for the 1v1s when he really could just wait for his teammates. Nidin does get hit by Stefan, then does not going to land his. Nidin on the run, finding Stefan, makes it just about to cover now. No more shells going to come in for a couple of seconds, but what can they pull together here? 1 minute and 35 seconds. This is going to be extraordinarily tough. WUSA are not giving them a second to breathe.
So what can they do? Nidin a one shot, Stisha one shot. Does Inichta, you know, he's been playing so well this season. It's, you know, real shame that he moved over from TCM Gaming and joined a team that really hasn't been performing. He could have been on that same level as Nir Pizzorni if he'd really concentrated.
He's going to try and take the shot here. Durs gets two back-to-back. Nidin goes down. Durs, you're just pointing out how good this man can be. Showing a little bit of that class with 2.3k now. Winnie the Pooh, last man standing. Stefan has the shot. Going to hit him up, slow him down, hold him in place. And it should be a matter of time before WUSA bring it back at 2-2.
Fair enough. I mean, both defensive rounds going to both teams. I really expected Synergy to get like maybe even a 4-0 or a 3-1 at least. But
I agree.
That was just really poor performance from Synergy. I mean, this was a really standard setup from WUSA with the T-54s all around that kind of northern area with all the defensive lines there, all the cover there. And it looked like Synergy just went straight into it.
But for a lineup who picked that many T-54s, they looked like they wanted the brawl, as you were saying, yet they failed when they went into it. Is that just, again, a core issue of the team, or was that tactically an error?
Well, you saw how much damage they all received. Already at this point, they've lost the T-37, which is not a massive deal, but you can see Total Best goes down low to Durs and Inichta. Carvey just goes in, he actually gets the exchange here, misses the first shell, but he eventually does take Winnie the Pooh down. So that's a Total Best down, excuse me. So that's a good exchange. That brings it all even. And then you can see the Synergy boys just don't do anything. They don't have any forward direction. They have nothing. I think they're waiting for the T-54s in A6 and C6 who do nothing this game to actually get into the fight. I mean, just looking through the damage, Mika does nothing, Total Best does 760, Corleone does only 956, whilst, you know, Dozinit doing 2.3k and Stefan doing very much of the same.
Wow. Already we are starting to see this game being closer than where all of us thought. You guys at home thought this was going to be maybe closer as well, because we thought this was going to be a higher percent votage towards Synergy.
Absolutely.
But, you know, the guys at home kept it fairly close. Was it around 60, if I'm not mistaken?
And they're still sticking with it, so it's still 59% in Synergy's favor. And I have a funny feeling about this. I don't know why, but it started off different than we thought.
Yep.
And WUSA is actually doing not too bad.
They're doing okay.
Yeah.
They're doing. I don't think they're doing anything special, but they're
sticking
up
with the regular tactics and pulling off. So Himmelsdorf, they'll be attacking first. Ollie, what do you expect?
Well, I think they managed to survive steps, which is just truly incredible from WUSA. I thought Synergy just didn't give us anything in terms of attacking rounds. So this coming up next is WUSA's map pick. You know, they do have a chance of getting 3 points against Synergy.
Yeah, they definitely could, Melly. And has that been reflected in the voting at all, or how's it been so far? Like the prediction scoreline-wise, are they close?
The prediction scoreline-wise, hopefully we'll check with that in a second. And actually, people at home are predicting either a very clear ending for Synergy, 5-2s and 5-0s a lot. But on the other side, if WUSA manages to pick this one up, it's going to go over the full distance. That's what the community at home says. So I have a lot of 5-4 predictions for the positive ending of WUSA. So people, if you haven't voted yet, you still have time. We'll be heading into a short break, and during that break, the votes will be open. So head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WGLEU, and hand in your votes and tell us who do you think will take this one and how the scoreline will look. And if you get it right, if you're one of the first 3 persons to guess this correct, you'll get a bonus code. So we'll be giving out 3 bonus codes, as said, to the 3 fastest. So get involved, head over to our Facebook page, follow us there, of course, and also follow our Twitter account. It's really important, because then you will miss nothing, because we have a live update during the shows. So if you can't watch the stream, we'll still send you tweets about what's happening on the servers. So people, as said, 5 minutes break. Then we'll be back with the next map, which is Himmelsdorf, and WUSA will be attacking against Synergy.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. As said, this is the final day of Super Week, and already we're in a very curious game to start with. It's 2-2 between Synergy and WUSA, something we certainly didn't expect coming out from the first map, Steps, but now we have the second map coming up. Now it's Himmelsdorf. This, I don't know anymore. Where do we go on this one? Should it be a Synergy win like the first map, or is this where WUSA would have had more of an opportunity?
Well, WUSA did a lot better on Himmelsdorf against Virtus Pro than they did on Steps against Virtus Pro. So by that logic, we could see maybe WUSA actually picking up a few rounds here. Yep. And, you know, looking at the statistics, again, Synergy are 70%, WUSA are at 40%, so 44%. So there's a massive disparity between these two, but that didn't seem to matter in the first round, so maybe WUSA will actually have a chance here in the second one. But I think, you know, they won that first round because they played more standard, they played very well together. They need to do the same here on Himmelsdorf.
Well, it's going to be a massive factor going into this one. You guys at home still have a very quick opportunity to get those votes in, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, until the map loads.
All right, you guys get at it right now. Melee's going to be watching
it's
with her hawk eyes.
currently.
There you go. See? Be quick, guys. Otherwise, Melee will just be like, no more. Shuts it down. No more fun. Anyway, do get those votes in. This is your last opportunity. The map is loading. So, guys, let's get ready for Himmelsdorf.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad. Heavy tanks with powerful guns run the show here. However, much depends on the light tanks. Usually they go for the base capture.
Alrighty, welcome into Himmelsdorf. We're going to find out who's going to be the one to break ahead here. Currently tied at 2-2, Synergy on the defensive side and WUSA on the attack. Yeah,
so, I mean, this is a completely different map than the first one. I love to see that kind of binary opposites here on this matchup. So here, let's see what we're going to do. Typically, Asisha's been caught out early in these kind of situations. You can see Synergy do have a few tanks that could make that happen for them, but this time he's going to be okay. Still slightly careless from him, but he's of course got coated optics. Not the binocular telescopes because he is moving too much. You have to wait for 5 seconds to get that bonus actually activated. Now, WUSA set up for an 8-line push right now, but they got the 2 IS3s down south, so obviously that's another option of it line on the hill with that T-32, as it looks like Synergy are ready and waiting for pretty much every angle of attack.
Yeah, and they're not pushing out too far. They're playing quite passive to a degree, just holding what they need to and saying, all right, WUSA, you've got pretty close. Let's slow it down now. Let's not give them any more opportunities. Let's make them work for if they want this win. And what's WUSA's best way of breaking this one down?
Well, they've already got the hill. They got the T-32 on there. I mean, really what we've seen in this kind of second half of the season is a big hill push down to A7. And actually, the setup from Synergy, they've got a couple of tanks on the cross to shoot the tanks that, you know, pass at B0. But an A7 push might even work against Synergy. It's a standard play. WUSA have good players. They just need to coordinate properly. But also heading up the 8 line, actually. This is actually a bit of a split push. They got 2 heavy tanks up the hill, and the rest of them down the 8 line. But as you can see, Synergy have most of their resources ready and waiting for a northern cap push.
Well, let's see if WUSA can break this down. As you said, they're going for a bit of a split play here. Rufy, Still Mojo, and Stefan heading up that A line, whereas Sish, Vitlion, and Spoink towards the northeast side, just coming off that hill. However, it's ground to a halt here. What are they waiting on? What's the plan? Is it waiting for the 5100 to get into position, or just seeing if they can do anything at this point?
Well, they've just been spotted on the cross by the MX-12T, I believe, so they're very cautious of what they want to do, but yeah, they're waiting for the 5100 down south to be in position. If they can get that MX-12T down before they commit entirely to a push, I think they'll be laughing as Vitlion just tries to make a couple of shells. WUSA are completely aware of where Synergy is, and they are scared. They really have to get the execution properly correct, and I think they're doing it right. They've got the IS-3s in the middle, which means they can shoot through and keep those tanks towards where Vitlion is. So if they can push those IS-3s around the corner, the IS-3s of WUSA, Still Mojo, and Stefan can shoot them in behind, so it'll actually work out well for them.
That's the plan. Let's see if they can execute it. 3 minutes and 50 seconds left. No damage yet done to Synergy. They are sitting pretty. Vitlion did take one earlier on in the T-32, but not the end of the world here. Stefan and Still Mojo so cautious. They seem so tentative to make a move, and you can't blame them. Finally, they do get a shot through towards Milov, but It's not changed too much for Synergy. They are jiggling around a touch, just trying to reposition, make sure they don't get caught out here. That 5100 of Nidin going to be moving in. You can see eyes trained on these angles if they do try and make a peek out of it. Winnie the Pooh takes one. It's a very slow race here WUSA seems to be playing.
I like this from WUSA. They're very methodical right now. They're getting all the angles. They're playing a nice game, but they still need to execute at some point. They still need to go forwards and actually get a big advantage because, as you said, 3 minutes left on the clock. It's not very much time to play around with considering the HP pool of Synergy and the fact that they got an AMX-12T who just got spotted, of course, can run around the map. And I think, WUSA is very conscious of that 12T, and if we manage to get up towards the Dorf, then they will be in trouble. The Himmel even, they'll definitely be in trouble. But here we go. The two IS-3s now pushing forwards, going out that middle position. They actually want to engage. They want to engage onto Mirlov and John. Well,
they've already got one shot applied between them, but now Roofy's in trouble. That's a lot of shells coming towards him, and Mirlov takes a face full of damage. And the crossfire coming from the IS-3 who was left towards the center of the map is strong. It's done well. Mirlov does have a shell to make now, though. Still Mojo, not going to be the easiest target, and actually WUSA are winning this one.
That's great play from WUSA right now. They're really doing well in these 2 versus 2 situations, but Telbes wants to change that.
This could change everything. Telbes is ready and waiting. They're going to put 4 tanks towards dealing with this. The rest of WUSA are nowhere near, and Telbes will take down Still Mojo. Roofy is the next one being eyed up here by the 4 tanks rolling forward. But can they keep this one in check? Have they overcommitted? We're going to find out soon as Spoink and Roofy waiting around this corner. Spoink's going to say hello and just send Telbes packing. But the cap has been started and the brawl begins. Spoink's low though. Durs finds Winnie the Pooh. One shot left towards Spoink. He needs to make this one count. Stefan finds Mirlov, and actually WUSA doing wonderfully here. Finally folding towards the right place at the right time. Synergy down to 4 tanks. Make it 3 as Nidin down to a 1 shot as well. This is a great bit of play from WUSA.
And this is the WUSA of old. They're just playing well together. The individual performances are strong. A couple of shells they could have made extra, but really no mistakes in those team fights. No individual hiccups. So great stuff there from WUSA, the majority German team. Now they just can go forwards and finish this one off. And it's Zamika and Nidin. Obviously Nidin on reload. Is Amarak actually down? And in an AMX 5100, so on 43 hit points, I have to say as well. So 1 minute left. It's not very much time. Zamika can pull off a miracle. They can still get the decap, but I don't see WUSA actually losing this round.
I'm amazed they're able to keep 3k HP as well throughout all of that. That was brilliantly done. Just even though it was so close. All right, so Durs is going hunting. He knows that maybe Zamika could have caused some trouble. They're not going to take that too lightly, but with merely 2 seconds left, it looks like WUSA has done enough to pick up round 1 in map 2 as Durs does take down Zamika, but to no real avail. Nicely done from WUSA.
Oh, really nice stuff. I absolutely loved it. Again, the reason why they were winning on steps in a couple of those rounds was because of that same kind of good synergy, good team play, good individual skill. I really like the IS-3s in the middle. A lot of teams just send them up the D-line. We see Virtus.pro setting up the D-line. What WUSA did, pop them in the middle, get them hull down, put pressure on those 2 IS-3s of synergy, and then have your then send one of those IS-3s up to the IS-3 on the 8 line. They go forwards in a 2 versus 2 situation, but you have Stefan in the middle who can shoot when you put pressure on, because you can actually get them into an awkward situation. So it's 3 versus 2. Good individual skill as well, gave them the hit points advantage they needed. And yeah, you can see here, 2 shells onto Roofy, but they respond with 810 of their own. And then Stefan also comes into the equation from the middle and brings it really, really nicely towards them. And then really late reaction from Synergy with the 5100s allows Vitline and Spoink to come off that hill and deal the finishing blow. Yeah,
it was very well timed as well, being able to not only just match Synergy's kind of play, but actually take advantage of all the flaws there. Yep. I've got to say, Melly, the people at home, they decided this would be a close game, and already we're seeing that this is getting very close, considering this is WUSA picking up round 1 here.
Absolutely. I mean, the vote dropped down to 55% for Synergy, so people are clearly onto something. They're rooting for WUSA. I mean, besides WUSA having a huge fan base and being one of the community darlings, they show really, really good game here.
Well, we're seeing that right now. Ollie, do you think they can do it again coming into the next round?
Well, obviously winning 2 attacking rounds is incredible.
It's almost unheard of, right?
As I say, Himmelsdorf is about It's possible to get 2 attacking rounds, but I honestly think it's a very hard feat. It's not like Steps where you can get 2 attacking rounds easy. It's not like 2 Mines attacking rounds, which is very easy. This is Himmelsdorf we're talking about, where intrinsically it's better to be on the defensive side. So let's see if they can have a repeat performance. Let's see if Roofy can repeat 2.1k damage he did in that IS3 last round. Now, I want to see what WUSA does. I think sometimes they can be criticized for doing the same thing twice and be easily hard countered. Let's see if they have something else magical up their sleeve. For me, I think they should be looking towards that 8 line because, and I think it's logical to look towards that 8 line because they have got the T-37.
Yeah, we'll see if this works. WUSA is again on the attack, just to clarify, and of course Synergy are defending. Now, the first time this went around, we just saw WUSA picking up very nicely, playing the map out well, creating and defining the engagements perfectly. And if they can do that again, this will be highly impressive. But it's not the exact same start here, is it? It's a little different.
Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, they've got the 2 tanks on hill straight away instead of waiting around. So, yeah, it does look like WUSA are going for that same thing twice. Let's see what Vitline can do. The thing is, if they give Vitline's position away, or they give Spoink's position away, it's going to be painfully obvious what their plan will be, and Synergy will just be thinking, okay, so WUSA are going to do the same thing twice. Let's put some tanks to actually cross, have the cross on the middle so they can shoot the tanks up while sitting there for WUSA. And WUSA this time around don't have a 5100 all the way down south, which I guess was the counter towards that middle push if Synergy didn't make it. But you can see, you know, WUSA do look like they want to do the same thing twice, but at the start, the line didn't get spotted, so you know, everything is still safe and sound for them.
It even has a nice little line on the side of that tank, so already seeing the IS-3s moving up. Roofy there has been spotted out. 5100 IS-3 and another down towards the south, quite far, not making their move. And Synergy, I'm surprised how passive they are. They haven't made a counterplay, but already good damage going towards Milov.
Yeah, Roofy starting where he left off. Great little connection there. I think, you know, if Synergy want to win this round, they first of all have to get the individual performances better. They have to be quicker to react. They can't just rely on set plays, which they often do. They have to be really on the ball and, you know, use those AMX 5100s to better effect. Really get them on the flank of WUSA. Get them in a position where, if they can, just be immediately behind them or be on their sides, instead of having them here, there, and everywhere, or engaging from the front with the IS-3s. But you can see Vitline and Spoink and Siege all heading off the hill for WUSA, as those 5100s didn't manage to cross down that courtyard next to the church without being spotted. So WUSA looks like they're setting up for a western side cap.
Well, a little bit of variety here. Maybe forced variety, but variety nevertheless. Can they pull it off again? We saw the first play being pretty ingenious. Gonna see if that can work out again already. Siege does, and still Mojo starting to begin to play towards that western side. IS-3 still holding the bottom of that A-line. What are they waiting on here?
Well, they're just waiting on the other tanks to come into position, which were on the hill. But the interesting thing for me is Synergy is actually heading up the hill with those 5100s and the T-32, not T-32. I think it's just 2 5100s, or maybe a 5100 and an IS-3. So they're actually stopping at the corner, so I think they're going for a spot, maybe thinking, okay, so if Siege is on the hill, if he doesn't poke his head up once now and again, then it's logical to assume that WUSA aren't on the hill at all. So maybe actually you'll see Synergy heading up the hill, but it's a very risky move. It takes a lot of time with those heavy tanks to get them up there, and in that time, it's very easy and a strong possibility that WUSA would actually be pushing that 1 to 3 line. As you can see, they're already set up. That IS-3 of Steel Mojo did just get spotted, so now it really just depends if Synergy can react quickly enough. Yeah,
Stefan and Roofy as well now. They know Synergy have to know what's going on here. There's no two ways about it. And to be fair, WUSA getting set up well into this. Vitline already into a decent position to hold. Stefan and Roofy going to comfortably make it across. There's no one there really to challenge. Zamika was the one, I think, who may have spotted them out. Already Still Mojo at the start, but this is the starting point. What does Synergy need to do to undo this?
Well, the typical push would be down the 2 line, you know, pushed on the other side of the houses, because, well, WUSA only has a T-32 and a 5100 there. You see a lot of teams as well push down the 8 line straight away to try and get the flank. And, of course, A1 position with a 5100 to get some shots onto the IS-3. But I actually love this position for WUSA. Synergy doesn't have an IS-3, which is normally where Still Mojo would be. They don't have an AMX-12T anywhere to be seen. They do have a 5100, which is actually coming off the hill, and which is sniping Vetline and Spoink from the side, but still that 5100 won't be able to do enough damage to make a huge amount of difference unless the rest of Synergy's tanks do end up pushing. But still, Mojo does get the peak and gets taken down. Yeah, and Vetline's going very low. As you said, not enough to take them down, but look at the damage here. Still, Mojo's 309, Vetline on 81 HP. Stefan has a little bit of damage, but that's negatable. But this is giving Synergy a window of opportunity here. The cap is continuing, and all the damage is going towards WUSA. Stefan is caught out. He's down to a one-shot. Total Best will pluck him out of that tank, and already Roofy next on the chopping board. And there's no fire coming back in towards Synergy. I'm surprised we're able to get away with this. It looks like trying to mobilize, but it's so late in the day now. Yeah, this is really bad news for WUSA. You can see Spoink trying to do as much as he can against Mirloff, but the IS3s of Synergy are mobilizing. Yeah, Synergy are miles in the lead by this point. 6.3k against the 2.7. And Synergy finally waking up with Zamika finding Vetlion and just finishing off what the others started. As Spoink now a one-shot. Corleone will find him. And now the three remainders of WUSA are just going to be scratching their heads going, guys, what the hell happened? Because they had the advantage, they made great plays, they had the initial positioning, but all the damage, all the shots were all in Synergy's favor. Yeah, Synergy had a hard counter with that 5100 on the hill. It did a lot of damage towards Vetline. Synergy, great timing as well, you know, with that 5100 on the hill. Also some interesting positions by WUSA, got themselves caught out from the side. You know, Stefan got taken down within a few seconds. So it's a lot of problems there for WUSA, a lot of positional problems, and a very easy set play from Synergy. They didn't really have to do much apart from play a normal counter to that west side push to win that game. Well, see, this is the two shades. It sounds like a very boring book. The two shades of WUSA, which sometimes is ingenious. It's a boring book. Yeah, it's just very dull. Hand-holding. Heavy petting, maybe. Wow, easy. That's a bit much for two. Anyway, not you and your girlfriend. So it started off round one really good. I don't have a girlfriend. Oh, already stopped? That soon? Oh, Ollie. Oh, thanks for revealing that. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sure she's watching. Anyway, first round, really good from WUSA. Yeah. Quite ingenious. This round, it seemed theoretically quite good, but then the execution was kind of lacking. Yeah, you know, Needham was on the hill at the perfect time, 1.5k damage, fantastic work from him. You'll see Stefan get chunked down, as Mitch liked to say. He's a bit chunky himself, so not surprising. And then still Mojo also, you know, at this point you got three tanks that basically get caught out. I think if Vetline had been in a better position, I guess he, you know, his position was to try and counter that 8-line push, which you see a lot. But I think, you know, Synergy just predicted the play, hard countered it, fantastic work. I mean, he did the 2.4k, Mirloff did 1.6k, whilst Vetline doing 0 damage, Stefan doing 0 damage. That's the end of the game for them, basically. Yeah, it was quite surprising. They were so locked out by that. But as you said, one hard counter, just some good positioning. It can go that way on Himmelsdorf. It is classically the defending map. So, of course, when they get those positions, it works that way. But, Melly, people at home saying it's going to be close. Still is. They're still on the money. How's it going out there? Are they enjoying the game so far?
Absolutely. I mean, one of our dearest viewers just sent me a tweet. Finally, WUSA playing the way that we all expected. Better later than never. They can make it hard for top teams. Is it true? Is like WUSA the sleeping beauty of the season?
Well, calling WUSA beauty is one thing, but
you know how I
don't know.
Right?
Like I just the thing is, as I said at the beginning, without Nir Pozzoni, I don't see WUSA getting the results in there. I think he needs to come off.
I'm trying to count.
He needs to get off his inactivity. He needs to be back in the game. I don't care if the sun's outside. I don't care if it's beautiful in Warsaw. He should be out here. He should be playing World of Tanks.
Get back to your cave and play some tanks.
Exactly. He should be winning this money because he's a brilliant player. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, WUSA's going to get into that automatic relegation spot. I don't think they are. I think they'll be able to play relegations.
Yep.
But I think right now they're out of the kind of window of opportunity to get into a top 6 position at the same time.
Okie dokie. So people, if you have anything else to add, head over to Twitter and use the hashtag WGLE to get involved. Also, send us your questions and I will get those experts to answer them. And sometimes I even tweet back or one of these two. So, hashtag WGLE.
Alrighty, so 3-3, WUSA defending, Synergy attacking. We're back at it now. It's the time to see what Synergy can bring on their attacking side. They were fairly standard on the defense. We saw nothing ingenious, but this is very different from WUSA. They're taking matters into their own hands.
Yeah, they are going super aggressive down that 1 to 3 line. But this is not completely unusual, excuse me. But it's always interesting to see when a team just decide to throw things up in the air. But let's see what Synergy's doing. That's always the interesting thing. So Mika went in towards that 6 line. Saw if he got spotted to see if he can spot anything. That allows Synergy to go towards that 8 line push. They've also got a 5100 on the hill, but you can see Zamika gets spotted. He doesn't actually find Spoink because he's in the between the train carts. He does cop a shot.
Yeah, down to half HP, almost on the money there. 341 HP left, and this is a very aggressive start from WUSA. And why are they so aggressive? Why are they taking so much map control? Is it because they can? Is it going to benefit them later? That is dangerous play.
Bad
Beautiful.
Play by Roofy.
How did he make it across there?
Still Mojo, that's really bad. He should have predicted that one. And Still Mojo basically kept that T-37 alive and received a couple of shells.
But Lion just showed him how it was done on the way over, but still somehow he stays alive on 6 HP.
Still Mojo, man.
Getting old.
He's getting old, man.
You know,
He's been missing these shells. He's been
gone.
missing these shells this whole matchup, and he really has to step up for his team right now. As Nidin also finds the back of him, this could be trouble again.
Let's see what Nidin can do here. So Mojo, we've said it before, he used to be one of those players that can make massive differences, or he can actually cause quite a few problems. Still Mojo backing away. Somehow gets away with being so out on a limb here. He did have Spoink covering him off at least towards the south to some degree, but at least WUSA's bought a good bit of time here.
Yeah, they've bought some time. Everything's still up in the air, and of course it good damage against Zamika. It doesn't help Synergy's cause here, but Spoink might just find the back of Nidin.
Well, he certainly has. Spoink there catches him out. Nidin not expecting it. Good little return fire though. Not going to get away scot-free with that one. As already those IS-3s are heading straight up that 8 line.
Nice left play by Nidin, the actual highest damage dealer for Synergy this season. So, yeah, good stuff all around, but a couple of shells going towards the side of him from Siege. As you mentioned, Synergy pushing up that A-lane with the IS-3s, but they have been spotted, but Stefan might just be out on his own and out there.
Oh, he's a little out on a limb, but he does at least have a Lion in the background, maybe still Mojo to a degree, but Lilia still fancies his chance. He's going to peek for it, and why not? 1 point exchange for Lion staying fairly pretty at this point, but the IS-3s are still continuing to the north. Lilia being the linchpin, he's going to hold this flank and leave the others to go forward, and Total Best certainly feeling the brunt of that.
And you got a 5100 as well up the 8 line. That gives you some problem for Stefan, actually. He receives a couple of shells, has to try and retract back as he does try and side scrape, but still it's going well for WUSA. They have good control, they are defending well, and I think, you know, they just have the players right now to be able to get the damage.
Yeah, Stefan looking for Nidin on that cross, and he is going to get the shot off as well. Nicely done by him, even under the pressure of having Winnie the Pooh and Lilia just off towards the side as the cap being started. This is going to add further pressure towards WUSA.
Still fragile.
The Lion peering over. Already 1k damage towards him. Great amounts of shots hit, but they will need to start focusing towards that cap pretty darn soon.
I think the best option now would be, you know, the cap obviously with the 2 IS-3s with the most HP, and just being able to keep control of it and do so much damage that they do peak.
Oh, but here we go. Let's see if they can. That's the big question. Siege does take down Zamika. Milov gets 2 for the price of 1, pretty much there. Roofy actually gets a little bit of fire from the back lines. There's a 5100 just behind where we're watching at the moment, keeping those ISs safe, and that is Total Best, just being the pest in the background. He's going to be flanked soon, but WUSA needs to make their move and make it fast.
John Corrado and Mielov actually going for a bit of side scrape, but it's still 3 versus 1. You can see Synergy are pretty much down in terms of HP. They do take Roofy and quickly after Spoink.
Yeah, Lilia not messing around on that one. He might have just sacrificed himself for it, though. I wonder if he can get into cover in time here. Down to a one-shot. Nidin peering out for him, seeing that Lion just staring him down from across that D-line, but this is a scrappy battle, but it's slowly but surely bleeding in towards the favor of Synergy as but Lion gets taken down by Nidin. And we're going to see John Corleone being folded in on by Durs, but he does have backup. There's still that 5100 there. Maybe didn't expect that. Look at the backup play. Beautifully done. Lilia covers him off, and John lives to fight another day. The 3 remainders for WUSA are still alive, but certainly out of the battle.
They just walk straight in that into that trap, and I think WUSA really have given them a way back into this game, down to some individual performances and just letting Synergy do so much damage for not giving any of their own. You know, those side-scraping IS-3s, those 2 tanks that just went around the corner with Des an Extra and Still Mojo just being damaged up by Nidin and Mielov. So bad play there from WUSA. They still have Siege on full HP in that T-37, and you know, Synergy are running out of time, but they still have enough to cap.
Yeah, let's see. 15 seconds here. Siege in a good spot, but Can't really make much of a move without being spotted here. Stefan's going to make a go of it. Winnie the Pooh is on the other side, just ready and waiting. 4 seconds remain. Siish is making the play. He's going to dive in there. Gets past 1. 1 second left. He can't land the shot. And there we have it. Synergy picking up round 1 on the second half here of Himmelsdorf, taking the advantage into their favor and actually getting them on match point.
Yeah, 4-3 to Synergy. I think they're getting themselves back into this game. They obviously went 3 rounds in a row. Down to WUSA, and now they've got 2 rounds in the bag. Damage, Nidin doing 2.5k. Good play by him. Tail best 2,000, and from WUSA, Vitline doing 2,000, Stefan doing 1.3k. Now I think this is a crucial moment. It's still all up in the air. WUSAs have a slight advantage. They have Synergy boxed in. They also have the hill down to thanks to Siish. But I think Rufy and Still Mojo didn't have to go forward. So they still had time. And, you know, Siish could have just come off the hill. He could have actually dealt with this cap, no problem at all. And they wouldn't have had to sacrifice Rufy. They wouldn't have to sacrifice Still Mojo because Turtle Best was there holding another angle. And, of course, you know, you can only aim 2 ways when you have 2 tanks.
Yeah, maybe a little short-sighted then from WUSA. Just a lot of battles going on at once. Maybe didn't have the focus in the right place. But they have one more shot of this to take it into the 3rd map here now. I don't know what to expect from this one because that was a very backward and forward game. I don't think you could have seen the victor until the very last seconds, if I'm honest. It was quite close until that point. But who do you think's got this one? Do you think we're going to see a victor here, or are we going to the overtime? Are we going to that 3rd map?
Well, we see WUSA now on the defensive side, which it is actually their higher win ratio, 55%, okay, which is bang on the normal win ratio for this map on the defensive side. So I don't know. I think it's a real possibility that we go on to the tiebreaker. I think these two are playing really similarly. Once they win a round, they win convincingly. When they lose a round, they lose it like a landslide. So you know, I have that whole comparison there. But I think Synergy, they won the last 2 rounds. They have the momentum going for them. They might just be able to win this one.
Let's see if that momentum can actually convert into that round on the board. We're going to find out as Synergy are on match point. 4 rounds beside them. WUSA on the defense with an opportunity to really hamper Synergy's progression throughout this league. Bear in mind, Synergy wanted that clean 3 victory. They want to get it as clean as possible at this point. But WUSA this time, again, going out to greet them. Yeah,
WUSA just going down again the 1-3 line. This actually gave them the early advantage last time because they took down Zamika, almost took down Zamika, even took him down to like 10 or 20 HP. And, you know, they did some good damage to the 5100s of Nidin. But you see Dazinixa setting up for the hill spot. So he can shoot Zamika, who's currently sitting up there, the only tank up there for Synergy. You can see Synergy just basically fully stacked up for their 8 line. Absolutely stacked there. But the IS-3 gets spotted there on the cross, so WUSA might be duped into thinking that Synergy will be heading up that A-line more quickly than they actually are.
We'll see what their response is at the moment. It's not too drastic, all holding their ground. The 5100s are splitting off towards that southwestern side. 5100 would be there to greet him. Stefan keeping eyes on the T-32 as well, being spotted out. And a fairly similar start here. Spoink in almost the same place as well.
Yeah, this is pretty standard stuff from Synergy. I mean, they do like to play down that 1-3 line to get the early peaks with the 5100, but they got a second one there, so maybe predicting that WUSA is going to be doing the same thing twice, wanting to get that overmatch versus Spoink.
See if they can get it, though. I'm not sure if they can. Just weighing this one out. Spoink, eyes trained on it as well. I think he's expecting this, and of course, with Nidin and Tobes being spotted, certainly doesn't help their cause. He's going to back up a little bit and maybe get ready to turn tail and run. But how's WUSA faring in this? Are they going to hold this position or are they going to back away? It looks like they're starting to move around. The T-32 leaving its original spot, as is the IS-3. Yeah,
the T-32 actually gets spotted while it leaves. Stefan also receives a shell. So I think right now, Stefan's got to be careful. He's really receiving some damage, but Zamika is forced to head back. But it's always good to do good initial tier 8 damage. As you can see, it looks like Synergy are setting up for that 8-line push again. They force WUSA away from there, and they will be able to get basically all the way up to B5 before WUSA has managed to retract back. But you can see the German team is starting to head that way, and Stefan receives another shell on the cross. And that does give Synergy, unfortunately, a window of opportunity to actually punish WUSA for their mistakes and maybe even close out this 8th round.
Let's see if they do it, though, because bearing in mind those IS-3s are still on the 8 line. You've got the 5100 split down towards the southwest. They've not really made a decisive move. And what's the time limit here still, feasibly? Because, you know, the cap circle's moved, Himmelsdorf plays out a little differently. What's the time limit for an attacking team these days?
I think, well, it was always 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes beforehand with 7:42, but I think, you know, they've still got plenty of time. I would say 1 minute, 1.5 minutes to when you have your tier 6 alive, just to be able to, you know, run away.
Yeah.
That's for WUSA, you know, on the defensive side. But Siege actually heading up the hill, and you might have a Zamika versus Siege situation again.
Bear in mind how low Zamika is. This is not going to be pretty at all, and Zamika knows that. Siege did take one on the way through, though, but still, wonder how this is going to affect the matter going forward. Synergy are getting towards their northern side, tentatively bearing in mind, and WUSA aren't really there.
No, they're not, but that's good play there by Siege. Really good position here for him as well. If he can just hold tight, he should be able to get the decap. Siege realized that he probably would have to sacrifice one shell against the IS-3s to get across that hill, but now he's here. As long as he doesn't peak too early, he's going to be in a great position, as I said, to decap the rest of his team as well, heading from south to north to get to the defensive positions. But still, there's a time limit on this, and if Winnie the Pooh hits the shell, it'll be the end of the game for Siege and probably for WUSA.
18 seconds, Siege. Let's see what you got here, buddy. Can he pull it off? I'd love to see him do this, but Lion's gained place, as is still Mojo as well. So Siege is playing an imperative factor here. Even in such a small tank, it can cause such a ripple effect. Oh, denied by Winnie the Pooh. Tries to take a little cheeky shot and just gets swatted back. But here comes with Lion. Here comes still Mojo. Here comes Rufy. The cavalry's arriving. But my God, is that late in the day? They're going to back away. And look at that damage. But Lion gets melted down. Nidin's going to put him to bed. And, well, the battle's certainly not over, but it's going in favor to Synergy.
And Synergy were ready and waiting. They had all their tanks in a perfect position to deal with the push around the corner. And they did so much damage, but it's still okay for WUSA. They're still into this game. You know, these teams are missing some of their shells, and it is working back into favor for WUSA, but a K damage separates the two, and WUSA does still have to peak.
Still Mojo again gets caught out. He goes down. There's 4 players now remaining for WUSA. They're going to have to pull this one back together. All right, Corleone got a little bit weaker in this, but they still got 4 tanks eyeing them up in this instance. As Dirds will be called out by Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh's having a great game so far as well, as Rufy, Stefan and Spoink, the last 3 standing to keep WUSA in this with a chance to take the map off Synergy. Certainly one step in the right direction, taking down Corleone, but Milov going to look forward towards Stefan. His Total Best coming around the corner. He should be able to have this shot here. It should be a walk in the park. It is for Total Best, as Rufy now the last poignant factor to be swept aside, as Spoink left on merely 264 HP. Total Best has 1 shot to make. A little quiet from him this game. But let's see if he can do it in 1. Of course he can. There we go. Total Best closes it down, and Synergy, slowly but surely in that final round, pick up the game.
Yeah, I think a big problem there for WUSA is that they were really forced into this all-in strategy. I think when you want to get the decap, the best way of doing it is getting control of the middle area, having the IS-3s shoot the back of the IS-3s that are capping. You can get a good amount of damage there, and you can also come from the 8 line. And, you know, Synergy had a kind of counter setup for that, but it wasn't strong enough to actually be able to deal with that. But yeah, WUSA a bit late, pushed around that corner, and with the MX-5100 and IS-3 up behind, but Lion just dropped instantly.
Yeah, the Lion got absolutely wrecked, let's be honest. Nidin just finished off the job. But to be fair, Synergy, as you said, using that momentum, taking themselves forward here, and it wasn't the best performance, it wasn't the cleanest of victories I've ever seen. WUSA actually, let's take, you know, real perspective here, did really well.
Yeah, they did okay. I mean, they showed some real class in some of these matches. They got their head in the game. The Zanikta played out of his skin, another 2.4k damage this round. Iliot, though, from Synergy, also having a good game, 2,000 damage in his IS-3. But I think ultimately, just some strange stuff from WUSA, some loss of concentration in a lot of respects. I really want to see them get back into the season. I really hope they keep themselves together as a team.
Let's remember, currently, WUSA were sat in 10th place, Synergy was 5th, so normally with those sort of deficits, it's a lot more one-sided, and even in the rounds that they lost, it was still quite close. So a good sign for WUSA, but it is very late in the day to be having good signs. But overall, of course, it was Synergy picking up the win. And Melly, the people at home guessed right. They expected a close game, and they got one.
Absolutely. So people, congratulations. And the next vote is on as soon as you see this. Remember, we have 5 minutes delay. People are always like, oh, she says the wrong vote now.